Welcome back to the mental gymnastics, the 2026 Olympics here in Washington, D.C., where we are live for the men's individual mental gymnastics finals. And coming up next on the Iran exercise, Pete Hegseth from the United States, presumably chock full of performance-enhancing scotch. And what a routine he is putting together. He's confirmed that Iran has fired on commercial vessels 9 times. He's confirmed Iran has seized 2 cargo ships. And they've attacked U.S. forces over 10 times. And yet, will he? He stuck the landing on the phrase, "The ceasefire is not over." So let's see what the judges think. It's a .08 from Russia, a .09 from China, and a perfect 0.10, a perfect 10 from Fox News. Pete Hegseth wins the gold and the highest BAC for the United States. I mean, that's what the Pentagon press briefing actually sounded like this week. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, looking like a guy who asked that salads stay on the buffet only for the women, stood up at the Pentagon with a straight face and said, quote, "The ceasefire is not over," end quote. While he described completely unceased firing events taking place in Iran.
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project, and we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. And we said we would defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that. So right now, the ceasefire certainly holds, but we're going to be watching very, very closely.
And if you recall, that ceasefire was announced way back April 8th, like 4 weeks ago. And since then, according to the Joint Chief of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane, who was sitting right next to Hegseth at that very press briefing, Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times, seized 2 container ships, attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, hit a UAE oil port, killing 3, injuring more. They've also fired at U.S. Navy ships, sunk merchant traffic, laid sea mines in an international waterway. All of that, as General Kane described as being below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. Phew. Below the threshold. I am glad you cleared that up for us, General. I was worried for a second there that 10 attacks on U.S. forces and the literal mining of an international shipping lane was like a war. Thank God it wasn't. And the linguistic/mental Olympics happening at the Pentagon are legendary. This new operation is something called Project Freedom. And again, who's naming these things? It's like the kid in 3rd grade that somehow has pizza in his hair again. By the way, that was totally me every week, even if we didn't have pizza. But Project Freedom, the U.S. military mission to escort 1,500 plus stranded commercial vessels and 22,000 mariners through the strait that's blockaded. That's what they called it, Project Freedom. And Hegseth had to go out of his way to clarify that Project Freedom is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Operation Epic Fury, that's the actual military assault on Iran. Project Freedom is like the friendlier version. It's the war's smaller, gentler cousin who plays bass in a punk band, but also still wears a polo shirt to show that he's not too out there. These are the same ships, the same Iran, the same destroyers, the same missiles aimed right back at us. But one of them is ceasefire friendly. The other is the war, but not a war that's behind the 60-day mark for congressional authorization. Just so that's all clear. And Hegseth's other line here, which he spoke from his actual, presumably flammable mouth, was, "This is a temporary mission for us. We expect the world to step up."
In fact, what I think you see from Project Freedom is that we're not allowing ourselves to get distracted. This is a separate and distinct effort, temporary in nature, that we plan to hand over to the world. The world has expressed a desire to be a part of this. As is often the case, or maybe almost always the case, American leadership is required. So the president was willing to undertake this send commercial ships through, send destroyers in, provide this red, white, and blue bubble of protection, and encourage the world to step up.
Translation, we started this fire, we don't actually know how to put it out, and we would like it very much if someone, anyone, please, would come help us out. South Korea, Japan, the EU, anyone? Hello? Calling all NATO members, please pick up the white courtesy phone and bail us out now. Meanwhile, cutting to the boss, the Mango Mussolini himself, was asked by reporters what would actually constitute a violation of the ceasefire, which is also, again, allowing 10 attacks on U.S. forces. Trump's exact words? You'll find out. You'll find out because I'll let you know. Ooh, mysterious. So mysterious that not even he knows which BS excuse will come out of his anus-shaped mouth tomorrow. But international relations don't work on sphincteric oral cavity spume mysteries. You cannot run the world's most dangerous foreign policy on Trump logic. You don't get to tell Iran, you'll find out when they cross your invisible line. They'll literally find out because they did the thing. I mean, something. The whole point of a deterrent is that it's communicated in advance. You'll find out. It's like what my dad used to say when I was opening a Christmas gift that was supposed to be from mom and dad. And remember, by the way, a month ago, Iran, they were opening the strait. Trump had won. They were militarily destroyed, crisis over. And in that month, Trump and his goons have been on Fox News since then calling Iran's economy 3 days from collapse. Week after week after week. Like a guy at a poker table calling pocket kings every single hand. And now, 4 weeks later, we have a dual blockade, 1,500 ships stuck, 22,000 mariners stranded. Gas is at $4.48 a gallon. It was below $3 before the war, if you forgot. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a mental triple Lindy from the podium. And these mental gymnastics are the entire scam. Donald Trump's illegal war of Epstein distraction has been going on now for over 2 months. He told you it was over. He told you he won. He told you that Iran would obey. They told you that gas would come down, and then they said that affordability was BS. They told you that the strait would reopen. And none of that is true. Iran's hitting our ships. They're hitting our allies. They're mining the Strait of Hormuz while gas is up 50%. The United States Navy is trapped in a blockade against the country we supposedly already defeated. And Trump's own defense secretary is calling that, and I cannot stress this enough, a ceasefire that isn't over. And the reason for the gymnastics, it's simple. If Hegseth admitted that the ceasefire is broken, then of course under the War Powers Resolution, Trump would have to give Congress a formal update within 60 days of resuming hostilities. They are using the ceasefire's not over as a sleight of hand to keep Congress in the dark. And of course, Donald Trump said he's not going to obey Congress anyway. And Kane's whole line about below the threshold, that's just lawyer speak. And trust me, I work with a lot of them. That's a DOJ memo dressed up like a Pentagon briefing. We aren't winning the war. We are stalling the briefing about the war so that the war can keep going off the books until after the midterms. Then presumably, we can blame Iran for hacking our voting machines. This is trying to keep the books cooked. And every American is paying $4.48 a gallon at the pump, and they are paying for those cooked books. The subscribe button, hit it. The deeper this story gets, the more we will be on it. And comment if you are starting to think that the names of these operations should actually be assigned by a middle schooler who would frankly do a better job. I mean, what would you name this war of Epstein distraction? I want to see it in the comments.